going up, you go to the 4th floor and you go down. So you get on this big elevator and they try to squish as many people in as they can to try to capture the essence, or capture a fraction of the essence of how it would be in a train car. And so this video shows up on a screen in the elevator, and it talks a little about the Holocaust, but not very much because they don't want to give much away. So you ride up to the very 4th floor, and in the 4th floor, it just talks about the rise of Adolf Hitler, you know, his childhood and, you know, the beginning of the Holocaust. But in a different section of the 4th floor, it gets deeper into the Holocaust. So after you leave the 4th floor, you walk through a staircase, or kind of like a little bridge, where if you look out of a window, you can see the lower floors. But a fun thing about it is, on the little glass panels of the museum, there are names of families that were involved in the Holocaust. So you'll see Horn and a lot of other names that were families of people who were killed in the Holocaust, and they're all etched into the glass. So you walk across this bridge, you enter the 3rd floor, which talks more in-depthly about the Holocaust, and they even have a train car, and it's not even a replica, an actual train car that they had to have flown in and like dropped into the building, and they had to build the building around it. And so you can see that train car and you walk through it, where you can explore other divisions of the 3rd floor. After that, you walk down a staircase, and if you look out of a window by the staircase, it says, "Never forget, always remember." And so you see more of those bold yet simple statements around the Holocaust Museum. And like for instance, outside of the Holocaust Museum, like on a door, or not on a door, but on kind of a wall, that etched in, it says, "You are my witnesses." And it's a passage, it's a little scripture from, I think, Isaiah in the Bible. And it says, "You are my witnesses." And so that really means that we bear witness for the people who can no longer tell their stories. And it is our duty as people who are living after this has happened to tell our children, and for them to tell their children, so that the memory of this is never forgotten. Because there are people out there, and there are websites out there that try to chalk the Holocaust as a hoax. And you can find, and you have to be really careful where you look up information about the Holocaust, because you will find a lot of sites like that. They'll say, concentration camps never existed, the Holocaust never happened, it was all fabricated, it was all a war tactic or something like that. It's stuff that doesn't really make sense. And so we have to bear witness to these people. And so when you get done with the 3rd floor, you go to the 2nd one, and it has testimonials from people who happen to survive the Holocaust. And there's this one real popular testimonial about a woman who married the man who saved her, or a man from the army who came and, you know, rescued the people that were in her camp. And so after you take a walk around the 1st floor, oh, I forgot an essential part of the 1st floor, the shoes. It depends on what time of the year you go, but you will see shoes from the Holocaust. There are children's shoes, women's shoes, and you see a lot of heels and stuff, and it really shows that these people didn't know what they were getting into, because who would wear heels to go work in go die in a death camp? And so it really shows how these people were fabricated and lied to, only saying, oh, they would be going to work. And they just ended up being killed. And so
they were just swept off the street by the armies, by Hitler's armies, and placed into the Holocaust.
Either that, or they were lied to, and the whole Holocaust was sugar-coated. And another thing about sugar-coating, when the Red Cross would come and inspect the camps, they wouldn't wash them up beautifully. They would make it look like everyone was having fun. They would give, about a month prior to when the Red Cross would visit, they would give the workers food and lots of drink and stuff to kind of give them pounds, because the life expectancy in a death camp or a concentration camp was 275 days. You weren't even gonna make it a year, and that's because they didn't feed you, you barely bathed, you never had enough to drink, and you basically didn't have all the basic human necessities that we as people take for granted nowadays. And so they would clean them up, and so that's why a lot of the world during this period was lied to. And only until it was too late did we realize what was happening, because either a lot of stuff wasn't broadcasted or only the good stuff was broadcasted, and it would just be lies. When we would see people smiling and just skipping along, these people were grieving the death of their children who were just thrown into furnaces because they were marked incapable of work. And so a lot of the world was really lied to, and that's why so many people died, because there were African Americans there were Slavs and Gypsies and Jews mainly, and so anybody who didn't fit Hitler's criteria, and like I said in the last segment, the Aryan race, which isn't really a race, but that's what we say today, the Aryan race, if you weren't the Aryan race, you weren't coming out alive. But there was another way that a lot of people did manage to survive. Well, not a lot, but a fraction of people did manage to survive the Holocaust. They would get on boats and sail to different countries. And there's a story, that's not really a story, but a famous incident where people got these fake passports, and they sailed from Germany to Cuba. And at first Cuba was going to let them in, but then Cuba changed their mind and did not let them in. So they sailed around the sea, not wanting to go back to Germany, and everyone on the boat perished. And so all these people, and unless you had connections in America, then you could get out if you got a fake passport, you flew over there. And that's how a couple families did manage to get out of the Holocaust. But besides that, it was a death sentence. There was no way you could escape Nazi Germany. And
so in a real sense, Lana, you were able to get a real experience from your visit to the Holocaust Museum, and you would advise and encourage everybody else to do the same.
Yeah.
Is that what you'd say?
And I forgot to mention the first floor and the very last floor of the Holocaust Museum says the Hall of Remembrance, and there's an everlasting fire, and it's always reminding you to remember.
And of course, let me encourage you to tune in again next week to another informative edition of Comments.